Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, October the 5th, believe it or not, in the year 2021. Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Thom, brought to you by the Best Girl Consulting Firm. So in Fulton County schools in Atlanta, a landmark allowing all public school students access to free or reduced cost classes through Auburn University. The first of its kind arrangement will allow the university to establish virtual learning locations in the county to assist in outreach classes, including virtual learning centers at the district's two innovation academies in Alpharetta and Fairborn. This agreement will allow students to take up to 24 hours of college courses through the university without paying out-of-state tuition. So under terms of the agreement, students receiving free or reduced lunch can apply for classes at no cost. Other students will pay $550 a class. So kudos to my alma mater, Auburn University, in being creative in trying to increase its services to a broader population. The Alabama House of Representatives have passed a bill to allow the use of $400 million in federal dollars from the American Rescue Plan, a COVID-19 relief bill, to help pay for two new 4,000-bed prisons. The House passed the bill 75-25, mostly along party lines. Republicans were for it, Democrats were against it. What else is new? Governor Kay Ivey has signed it. Now, Equal Justice Initiative founder Bryan Stevenson's new museum dedicated to the history of slavery and mass incarceration had its opening day just a few blocks away. That irony was not lost on Stevenson. Stevenson says building new, bigger prisons seems to be a solution, but it's not. It's a distraction. And I think a misuse of funds to invest millions of dollars in new prisons. There has been an inattention to the truth of what's happening in our prisons, said Stevenson. Our prisons are not violent because the walls are shabby or because the pipes aren't good. Our prisons are dysfunctional not because they're old. Our prisons are dysfunctional because we have allowed a culture of violence to prevail. We have no accountability. There's no supervision. There's no oversight. The management is poor. We have not done what most states have done to implement best practices in creating more secure and healthier spaces. We just haven't. Those issues are not going to be fixed by new prisons. Now, of course, Bryan Stevenson is the author of the best-selling book Just Mercy, which turned into a film in 2019 with Jamie Foxx and Michael B. Jordan. Post office says you better get those holiday packages mailed out earlier this year. Mail delivery is about to get slower and a little more expensive. The Postal Service is implementing new service standards for first-class mail and periodicals, slowing its target delivery time by about 30% beginning 2 days ago on October 3rd and ending on December 26th. The Postal Service will temporarily increase prices on all commercial and retail domestic packages due to the holiday season. And here at Tuesdays with Thom, we are excited to congratulate past Tuesday G-List guest Winona Satcher, owner of Maker Studio in Atlanta, on their new Atlanta manufacturing facilities. The facility is located in a neighborhood where her family is originally from, which makes it very special for Ms. Satcher. She says she wishes her grandparents were here to see her. Mrs. Satcher, of course, was named to the top 100 women entrepreneurs list in the year 2020. So today our G-List guest is actor, producer, casting director, and firefighter David Schifter. David wrapped his film Black Balsam last spring, and we'll catch up with him and see where he is in the post-production process. I've worked with David a couple times, including last spring, and look forward to our next time. So, and the G-List, of course, is sponsored by Mainstream Financial Group. Mainstream Financial brings financial vision and clarity to your retirement plan. So talk to the folks at Mainstream Financial. You never want to let your money run out before you do. This edition of Tuesdays with Thom, of course, is sponsored by our partners, the Best Girl Consulting Firm. Best Girl is
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girls team of consultants led by Joyce Gilly Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girls customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
Creates the solution that fits your needs. So let's get to our roundtable regulars. Introduce Barbara Wallace Edwards and Michael Walker. Michael Walker is president and owner of the Walker Insurance Agency in Atlanta, Georgia. So, Michael, how are you this morning?
I am doing well, Tom. I hope you are too.
I'm doing very well. Are you in Atlanta? I think we talked a couple of days or so ago. You were in D.C.
That's correct. I got back last night from D.C.
Okay.
I spent about 5-6 days in D.C.
You rushed back so you could do your job on the show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Had to get in here last night.
What's happening in your world, Michael?
Well, there's several things that are going on, but one thing that I'd like to share with our listeners out there, for those of who may have contracted COVID, there is a new grassroots, nonpartisan group called COVID Survivors for Change. They launched last Friday, and they have representatives from all 50 states. And what they're trying to do is illustrate how the virus has changed their lives and the lives of long haulers and people that passed away. They're going to lobby elected state and federal officials to get direct funding for long haulers, and also to create a 911 style commission to investigate how the pandemic has led to thousands of deaths and potentially millions of long haulers with COVID-19 cases. And as you know, you probably heard in the news that more than 700,000 people have passed away due to coronavirus. And just to give our listeners an example of what long hauler symptoms are, there's a 46-year-old single female parent of 2 teenagers. She said she has 6 different providers to care for her various symptoms, which include inflammation, muscle weakness, decreased lung capacity, and memory problems. She said that immediately following a suspected stroke 2 months ago, she couldn't even tell you her name. One other person that's a member of this association is a 48-year-old long hauler. She said she contracted COVID-19 in March of 2020. She ended up being hospitalized for 69 days, including 30 days in a medically induced coma. Jeez. She spent months relearning to eat, walk, and talk, and has returned to the emergency room 4 times due to COVID-19 lingering symptoms. They're going to ask for funding to help them because a lot of them are concerned with their ongoing medical needs due to COVID. It can cause financial disaster for them. So they want funding to be put in place for those people. They're concerned that the funding will be funneled to people that do not need it. But that's what's moving right now.
Or funneled to prisons. Who knows? So long hauler, you to clarify for people who, we talking people who, go ahead.
People who had the virus, okay, and they're supposedly been, let's say they recovered from the virus so they can move forward, but they have these lingering symptoms that are a result of the virus, and they can last for 6 months, or some of them will be permanent. And there's been some talk about people getting disabilities that had COVID that have these long haul symptoms. So in other words, you're dismissed from the hospital, you can go back to your normal life, quote, normal life, except for the fact that you have these lingering issues that don't seem to resolve themselves.
Wow. That's tough. let's get Barbara on, and we'll get back. Barbara Wallace Edwards, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Thom. Good morning, Michael. I'm doing well. Thank you on this rainy Tuesday morning here in Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, so you are in Birmingham
I
today.
am. I'm back in Birmingham today. Yes.
Okay. So what's happening in your world?
Well, Thom, Michael was talking about the coronavirus and the effect it's had on people. I have personally known 5 people that have passed away from COVID within the last 30 days. And the impact it's having. The
Jeez.
last person I just heard about recently was a 40-year-old young businessman here in Birmingham, Alabama, had a family of 2 small children. It's devastating just to think the impact it's going to have on his wife and her having to raise those children alone. It's sickening. True, there's so many people who are having ongoing symptoms as a result of the having been diagnosed with COVID as well. I don't know where this is going.
Let me ask this question. It may seem to be a little harsh, but were they vaccinated?
I don't know for certain if they all were or were not, but I know there were 3 that were not vaccinated of those 5.
Michael, let me ask you about the long haulers. Do you know if they were vaccinated or not?
Well, these particular people did not say, but I can say that from my immediate family, my sister, who's a nurse, she contracted the virus last March and got sick. She had not been vaccinated before she got it. She got vaccinated after she was dismissed from the hospital. But she said something to me that was quite poignant. She said that she knows that her life will never be the same after she had it. And she said that, after she came out of the hospital, because she had oxygen going in, she didn't get to a ventilator, but she was dismissed and had oxygen. And she made those comments to me. And I didn't know what she meant. But with her being a nurse, she knew more about it than I did. So she is probably having some of these symptoms as well. But she did get vaccinated afterwards.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's maybe we'll change the subject a little bit here. Barbara, did you have anything else that you wanted to?
No, that was mainly all. Go right ahead.
So let me ask you guys, let me just, Michael is my analyst as far as sports football goes. So I need you to tell me, and I know you're an Auburn guy. You live in Georgia. Auburn's playing Georgia this weekend. Tell me what's going to happen.
Well, first of all, let me just say that I certainly support Auburn, and I would love to see Auburn pull an upset on Georgia. I really would. But I'm not so sure that we have the horses to do that. And reason why I say that, we have a lot of young, undeveloped talent on the team. But when you look at it, we lost 3 starters off our defensive line this year, and not due to them going to the draft. They transferred because of the coaching change. So now you have a whole new front 4, and then plus the linebackers are returning. So there's a big drop off between our first 11 on either side of the ball. And that's where I think the difference will come in the game. Probably the first quarter or so, we may be able to hang. But as it continues, you all know football is a game of attrition. So when they have to substitute, I see that's where there's going to be a problem. I would be very happy if we come within 7 points, be like the Penn State game with an opportunity to win, but I don't know that that's going to happen.
Okay. Well, Michael, I saw some of the new players on defense this past weekend. I think they played better than some of the former players we had that played on defense. So, I know that Georgia certainly is a powerhouse, but I think Auburn has a chance to beat them if they play their game. They play a good game, and coaches send in the right play calls and things of that nature. I think Auburn has a chance, especially playing at home.
Well, Barbara, I agree with you there from the way these players are stepping up. But back to my point is they can't play the whole game. So
That's
you
true.
have to give them a break so they can play at a high level. That's my concern. So if we still had those other players, whether they were starting or not, or even if they were starting and these players came in, it wouldn't be a drop off. That's
I
where
see.
I'm saying we'll have the issue. That's the point I'm making.
So with his scrambling around in miracle plays last week, did Bo Nix reinsert himself as the number one quarterback?
No doubt.
Yeah,
That's not
he
saying I
started
agree
the
with you.
game. Yeah, I was going to say he started the game, so somebody thought he was the number one quarterback, whether we do or not.
Right. Yeah.
So you know.
I mean,
I
well,
think TJ should have started the game. I thought he would play both quarterbacks, but I really thought TJ Finley would have started. So we will see what happens. I think he will start against Georgia as well. Bo will, and but I do hope that Harsin will use both of them, depending on the plays that are being called.
Michael, you grinning?
Well, I'm laughing because although I understand Barbara's position and agree with it, just by the mere fact that Bo had the game he had, I don't see that happening. Bo is going to start the game, and he's going to play the majority of the game unless he starts to play like he did against Georgia State. You know, Harsin may bring TJ Finley in as a change of pace a little bit just to see what he's going to do, or if he gets the hot hand. But unless he comes in and throw a touchdown or drive down the field, he'll just play one series and that'll be it, and they'll give it back to Bo.
Well, if you only got one series, that's kind of tough to come out and you got to score a touchdown on this series or you're out.
Hey, Thom,
I think one of the things, and I would be willing to bet you that those coaches feel this way. You have players who are hero. They play hero ball. Bo is a hero ball player. Bo plays to be the hero.
Yes.
And a lot of times later on, and when they're meeting, the coaches will say, we ain't going to be able to win consistently like this. We'll take this win, but we need consistency to beat Georgia, to beat the rest of the teams on our schedule.
Yes.
And so we'll see how it goes. I don't know Coach Harsin. I've just kind of read between the lines on some of his comments. And if he's a quarterback whisperer, as they said, I think when we hired him, I don't think he's totally pleased with the way things are going in that regard.
Right.
But, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. And I don't know. I don't know. Of course, we'll see.
So you won't go into the game?
No, I won't. I like them on television.
Yeah.
I was in California all that time. I got used to watching them on television.
Right.
I prefer that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I hear what you're saying, Thom, and I agree with it, but sometimes that's the only way some people can play.
I agree. Oh, I agree with you 100%. And I think that's the only way he can play. I think he's gotten away with that. To me, I never saw him play in high school, but I'm willing to bet you he was the best player on his team in high school. And as the best player, he didn't have to do the fundamental things all the time. Right. If he could scramble and run around and end up throwing a touchdown, and everybody said it was great. Right. Fundamentally, if you watch him play, and I don't have anything against the young man, he never sets his feet when he's passing. Most of the time, he starts running before the rush even gets to him.
I agree.
He's taken off, gone.
Right.
And so your linemen get caught holding, right. Get caught downfield because they don't know where he is.
Yes, right.
And, he made 2 incredible plays the other day. So, if you don't make those plays, will they still love you? You know,
Right.
because they love you when you make those plays. So we'll see. I don't
There
know.
was someone that was booed
It's interesting.
2 weeks ago.
Say what?
I said they were booing him 2 weeks ago
Oh,
in the
yeah,
stadium.
yeah.
And,
Oh
you know,
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
so
fans.
now everybody's loved him. Yeah.
Well, Tom, just to comment on your point, they interviewed Bo. I saw an interview with him, and I think the reporter asked him about his play, and he said, "Sometime that gets me in trouble."
Mhm.
He said that himself,
He did.
and he's and
Go
then he
ahead.
said, but it worked out or something like that. So he plays with a lot of
Oh, he does.
competitiveness,
He does.
and he gives everything. It may not be channeled in the right direction, but he even admits that he plays kind of erratic and chaotic. But there's this thing about thriving on a chaos. Some people just do best that way.
That's true.
I think. Now they said the other day that in 3 years he'd had 3 different offensive coordinators. That's hurt him. He hasn't had anybody, in my opinion, to teach him how to play quarterback. Although his dad was a quarterback, I'm really surprised he's not more fundamentally sound in terms of his dad having been a college quarterback. Malzahn didn't develop quarterbacks,
Right.
and so I feel like he was didn't get the benefit of the best coaching coming into college.
Right.
And but I will say this: nobody on that field deserves to be booed. These are young men who are doing the best they can. As you said, Michael, he's playing as hard. He plays hard. He plays really hard. And I just think that the coach will probably have some tough decisions to make as the year goes on, and he'll have to make those decisions. And there may be spot decisions. Bo may start the whole year, but he will probably have to end up playing that other guy. Let me ask one more football thing. And this is one for Michael, but Barbara, you probably know about it too. But probably the hottest quarterback in the country is Malik Willis. He was at Auburn.
That's my man.
And they wouldn't let him play.
I know.
Malzahn wouldn't let him play.
Right.
It's funny when Malik, and I'll tell you this, I've told you this before, but I saw Malik play at Roswell High School here in Atlanta. I was in a bar one night and I was watching a game on a Friday night, and I was looking at it. I said, man, he reminded me of Nick Marshall, and that's what caught my attention. And I'm like, man, this young man is bad. I'm like, why isn't Auburn recruiting him? Why isn't Auburn all over this young man? And lo and behold, when they brought Chip Lindsey in from Arizona, Chip Lindsey was the one that went and got Malik. Malik had already agreed to a scholarship to the University of Virginia. So that should tell you something right there, okay? Right. Because the saying is, don't know the playbook, can't read defense. Well, he got accepted to Virginia, okay? Mm-hmm. So we know the scholastic achievement of Virginia. But he came to Auburn because of Chip Lindsey. And then Malzahn would never let him throw, wouldn't open a playbook. He'd only put him in and make him run the ball, and that's it. And then
I saw the other day where they played Navy, and one of the people commented and said he brought Joey Gatewood in for one play and he handed off, and then he took him back out.
Yeah. You talk about Malzahn did that, right?
What's the strategy in that? He used to do that all the time. You bring a new quarterback in, one play, you let him hand off, and then you take him back out. Were you tricking him?
We will never understand those play calls. Nobody will. And they didn't Navy beat them?
Yes, Navy
beat them. Oh, those fans were. I read the comments.
Yeah,
they were talking about firing him already. And they were really upset.
Yeah. I love it because I feel vindicated. Because I've been on Malzahn for 5 years telling you all, anybody would listen to man didn't know what he was doing. Now he left Auburn and went to UCF. He's doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's sad.
I have to say that Coach Malzahn was going to make me an honorary coach for one of the games. So I have to say,
he was a nice guy, Tom. He's a nice guy.
Has nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
Hey, I wonder if he would let me call some plays.
He needs you to call some plays. You might want to go down to Florida and be his honorary
Hey,
coach down
I
there.
have to just let me say this, and we need to go to the G list. But you know, we have to win one game because one of our favorite viewers, Antley Staten from In the Heat of the Night, is a South Carolina guy. I think South Carolina might have beat us once in the last
First
100
time
years.
since 1932. Okay. One
So-
time since 1932.
Antley wants us to come to South Carolina for that game, Tom. He emails me at least once a week. I mean, message me at least once a week saying, I can't wait for you and Tom to get here so for that game.
It's so funny.
I'm tempted to go just for that game so we can see Antley face to face after we beat South Carolina.
Antley, we talking about you, brother. We talking about you.
We love
Anyway.
Antley. He's one of our biggest supporters.
Yeah, he is. So let's go forward. Let's go to the G list. The G list is where everybody is a star. The G list is brought to you by Mainstream Financial Group. Mainstream Financial Group provides financial services for both individuals and businesses.
Mainstream Financial Group provides financial services for both individuals and businesses. Mainstream's mission is to understand the unique needs of every client and work closely with you, assembling a team to develop and manage your resources to help you accomplish your defined financial goals. Mainstream's financial professionals will provide you with a complimentary, no obligation financial review. Now, these professionals can then offer you custom advice to mend together the pieces of your financial life and come up with a plan that is truly comprehensive. Mainstream Financial assists retirees and those close to retirement in planning for a secure retirement so not to run out of money during your lifetime. You can take advantage of opportunities with tailored advice and the resources to act on it. Mainstream Financial Group, www.mainstreamfg.com, 205-324-0589.
Don't let your money run out before you do. So let's get to the G list for today. Remember, Hollywood has the A list. Here on Tuesdays with Tom, we have the G list where everybody is a star. Today's G list guest is David Schifter. David is a versatile American actor, casting director, and volunteer firefighter. He began life in front of the camera as a teenager as host of a New York cable television show. He later spent a successful 14 years as a TV news investigative reporter at both the local and national level, earning numerous awards, including 3 Emmy nominations and the coveted Emmy itself. He then turned to acting, is currently working as an executive producer for the Collective Film Group. David, how are you, brother?
Good morning. Good morning to you. I just
All
happen to be doing a little reading here.
That's a good book you got there. I can tell you that.
It's a very good book.
Hi. Oh, so what's going on in your world, man?
Well, life is busy, and I like it best when it's busy. But when it's really busy, you start wishing you had time on your hands, but then you get time on your hands and you wish it was busy. So you can never be happy, right?
I just wish I could do one thing at a time, but I always got about 5 things going at a time.
Well, during your show, I packaged, listening, of course, but I packaged up something I've got to mail out today. Read a couple of pages of Walk On, and heard a call come in on the fire pager that I wasn't concerned with. It wasn't couldn't be something I had to go on or anything like that. But yeah.
So before we go to Michael and Barbara, let's talk about Black Balsam.
Yes.
Tell us about Black Balsam. I know about it, but tell them about Black Balsam and where you are in the process right now.
Black Balsam is a screenplay that I wrote from an idea that I had. Originally, I was going to title it Deadly Mortgage. And I still, the title is still a working title. We'll see where it.
Oh. Well, we're having a little issue here. Let's go on and bring Michael and Barbara on as we work on to get David back. Em, are you able to work with him? I'll go over here in the private chat and see what's happening. Let's go ahead.
While we're waiting on this, I was checking out some information on David, and I saw a personal quote he has, and it says, "There is nothing more satisfying than doing what you love and coming home to the one you love."
Yes.
It's nice to be
that's
important,
great.
but more important to be nice.
Good deal.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
that says a lot, you know.
Yeah, I think Emily thinks he's having a problem with his internet. There he is. There he is.
I don't know what happened. You know, we're all, you know, you guys are on in the pregame here, and then all of a sudden when I come on, it goes to heck.
Hey,
But we're back, and you were talking about
one thing you can count on is none of us know how to fix when something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
We've all been there, David. We've all been there.
Go ahead, David.
All right. Okay, I just wanted to. Okay, there we go. Technology's great when it works.
Yeah, it is.
Black Balsam is a film that I wrote from an idea that I had about a couple who, well-to-do couple with two, adult children who travel to the mountains to look for a property, look for a weekend getaway cabin in the mountains. And they go up, they find one that is just too good to be true. You know what usually happens. The price was great, but what's the backstory? Well, the backstory is that it's owned by an elderly woman who lives with her son, her adult son, and she takes care of him, but he turns out to be abusive, and she, when she dies, her last wish is to deed the house to someone, to give the house away to someone else, to sell it to someone else, and leave the son homeless, in essence. So the son, who is a taxidermist, really can't understand the concept that this isn't his anymore. So he never leaves. And what I mean by that is that he never moves out. The house is transferred title. It's sold. He should have been out days ago. And the new people come up to move in, and guess who's still living there? So they call the police. The sheriff, played by you, Thom, and the deputy, played by me, come to remove this fella and tell him he's not welcome back. Again, he doesn't get that idea, and he's back a couple of days later when the family tries to move in yet again. He's still there. All his things are still there. He's done everything in his power to make it as unattractive as possible, because the longer he holds off in getting the property sold, the longer he can live there, right? So here's this couple come up, and now they've got this problem. This guy who just never quite goes away, but he's also not there. So they don't really know what's happening, but through a series of various things continue to happen to the family until the end, which doesn't go well for anyone.
It's an interesting end, and we won't talk about it. We won't give away the ending. It's interesting. We shot in a very remote location. How'd you go about finding that location?
Well, today's resources like Airbnb and Verbo and those types of rental sites really give a locations manager an advantage. You can find places that are already available to rent. It's not like you're knocking on someone's door and saying, "Hey, I'd love to have your house for 3 weeks. We're going to move you out and replace all your furniture and mess some things up. In fact, is that okay with you? Here's a couple grand." No, we went and we rented this property, which was a 3-cabin estate with a lot of land. And it was perfect for us because one of the cabins was our location for filming. And the 2 others, we housed cast and crew. So we were all in our little island oasis. Nobody really left. And in the age of COVID on sets, you really have to worry about the transmission of COVID and people in such close proximities on set. We were really concerned, and under a union contract, we had to do certain things that kept us clean and healthy. And we got through the production, and nobody got sick, and it was a really good. Everyone was responsible, and it was a great shoot. But yeah, this was a very secluded place called Sunset, South Carolina, about an hour from Brevard, which is on the North Carolina border, and it was difficult. Our meals, the poor guy Nick, who we had to send for meals in the morning, had to get up at like 4 o'clock to just drive to a place that wasn't even open yet. And by the time he got there, it was open, and they'd have our order hopefully ready, usually not. And then he'd have to come back. And by the time everyone went through breakfast, it was almost time to place the order for lunch for him. And for him, so he was never not driving back and forth to various, food sources, and nothing was easy to get to. There was nothing was nearby. We were really remote, and the phone service was terrible, so internet was sketchy. It was rough. It was really difficult at times, but we pushed through, we made it, and we made a really good movie. I saw it was sent to me for approval as a executive producer, a picture lock cut of the movie, and I made a few suggestions, and those are going to be taken care of today. And then we go into the laying in the soundtrack. We have composer, we have our video effects, the visual effects, I should say, have been done and need to be inserted, and we've got a nice little movie here. I won't say little. I mean, that's just a figure of speech. We have a nice film here.
Good deal.
I'm excited about it. Usually at this stage, if it's not completely finished, I sit there, my gosh, what have I done? But we have a nice film. It looks good. The acting is great. The shots, the locations, everything works. So now it's just going to go through the last few processes to get it done, and slap credits on it and get it out there.
I think it was a really good shoot. It was a shoot I think everybody was committed to. It's small crew, and man, they worked hard. I think all the actors were really proud to be in it, and so I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the big premiere. No, it'll be good. This film comes a year and a half after we filmed another movie called The Penthouse. The Penthouse, it's a thriller set at the beach. And the slug line was they could see everything until they saw too much. And this one stars Nicholas Tutero and Michael Paré, who were wonderful to work with as well. And it actually filmed here at the beach, at this beach. Sounds good. Let me let Barbara and Michael get in and ask a couple of questions.
Please.
Barbara?
I'm excited. I can't wait for the movie to come out. You got me really excited about it now. So
that guy who plays the sheriff is great. I'll tell you that.
I bet.
Go ahead.
I think you both are probably really great in this movie. And David, good morning to you. And I'm excited to virtually meet you. You're one of my favorite. We had a recurring role in one of my favorite shows, The Haves and the Have-Nots. That had to be exciting to work with Tyler Perry on that particular show. So tell us about that experience.
Well, Tyler Perry, amazing guy. First of all, he gave new life to a closed down Army base in Atlanta, Georgia, Fort McPherson.
Yes.
And he opened it or bought it and built sound stages and productions, suites, and it's now open to rentals and everything else. But to work with Tyler Perry is to work with probably the fastest man in the industry. He shoots 90 pages of script a day. That's unheard of. That's a feature film a day.
Yes.
90 pages.
Wow.
So what he does, for the have and have-nots at least, the building that we film in has multiple floors with multiple standing sets. So these sets, it includes the Oval Office of the White House, includes a bar, a hospital, a hotel lobby, hotel rooms, hospital rooms, a restaurant. So he's got a lot of what he needs right there. Well, I play the role I played recurring was a television reporter / anchor. So I'd come in and do my job and such. But the first time I worked with him, they brought me to set and early to sit with I guess a production assistant or somebody to work on the dialogue, make sure I had it down.
Right.
And then I was brought over to the set. They placed me. Tyler came out from behind Video Village and said, "Hey, how you doing? And he was like 100 miles an hour. Here, we're going to do this. We're going to do a couple takes. And okay, you ready? Yes, sir." And he went back behind the camera. We shot. We did a rehearsal. We took 2 takes. He leans out and says, "Thank you," and that was the end of that.
Wow.
2 takes. Wow.
So people say, "What's Tyler Perry like?" I say he's 100 miles an hour. But he's done a lot of good things for Atlanta, for the industry, and he churns out product faster than anyone I've ever seen or heard of.
And there's a major influx, I understand, of actors and cast people and moving from like Los Angeles to Atlanta, and that's showing every day because the housing market there is crazy. So I think there are a lot of people there, but I think it is a lot of just people from the movie industry moving to the area.
You're absolutely right, Barbara. Basically, what has happened, it's cyclical. LA was at one time the only place to make movies, then New York, and then Wilmington, North Carolina was the 3rd largest film town right here. Was the 3rd largest film hub in the country. We got kicked to the side by Atlanta when North Carolina shut down its film incentives, which we have back now, by the way. But when they shut them down, everybody moved to Atlanta. So all the crews packed up. Families were broken up because, hey, I'll see you Friday or Saturday or whenever I get off. And they got an apartment down in Atlanta, camera people, grips, whoever, and they ended up coming back on weekends and such. But that's a hard life. That's hard to do.
Yes.
But they're doing it. But the industry's back in North Carolina now, and that's terrific. So if you remember, about 10 years ago, New Orleans was a big place to shoot films. They took those incentives away, and everybody, the producers are going to be loyal to the towns or the states that provide them the best deals.
Right.
Nobody else. That's it's just the fact of the matter. They're going to be the bottom line is the money dollar sign is the bottom line.
Right.
Exactly. Okay, who's up, Michael?
Yes. Good morning, David. Thanks for being with us today. I've got 2 questions, but the first question is, and I don't know if you can reveal this or not, the title of the film, Black Balsam. What does that mean, and why is that name chosen?
Well, I had, and I'm not 100% sold on it yet. That was the director's idea. Keith Franklin came up with that title. I thought Deadly Mortgage sounded very Lifetime movie. And
I don't know if that's a compliment, though. I like Black Balsam.
All right. Well,
anyway,
we'll keep it.
Go ahead, David. Go ahead.
Black balsam is a type of tree. And so while it's not a real place, we did film in a place called, Sunset, but that really doesn't come out. We call it Black Balsam on screen, and Black Balsam Knob and things like that. We wanted people to really think of this as a very isolated location. These people wanted to get away from the city and go up there for weekend trips away and bring the kids occasionally for the holidays. This is a holiday-based movie. It's set around Christmas. So not a very merry one for these folks, so but it's set around Christmas. And so we wanted a title that sounded kind of lonely and mysterious and just vacant from anything else,
Okay.
Wow.
My other
balsam is a type of wood, and this is a very woodsy area, so that makes sense.
Okay. My other question is that you made a transition from being an investigative reporter yourself into being an actor. Tell us about that transition and what caused that to happen.
Life is too short to do one thing.
There you go.
So I spent 15 years as a TV news investigative reporter. From college, I went to Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York. I worked for a little station up there as an intern. Then I went to Bluefield, West Virginia, then Roanoke, Virginia, Fresno, California, Cleveland, Ohio, back to upstate New York, where I took over as news director. So I ran the news department and was responsible for everything from the content, the editorial content, to the music and the set. And then I came to Wilmington to do the same as a news director. And then when I got here, I realized how much of a film industry there was here. And I always wanted to be an actor. But I went home, told my wife, hey, I'm quitting and I want to be an actor. And she said, I didn't marry an actor. So that was the beginning of the end of that. And so I became an actor and I never looked back. I don't regret being a TV reporter. I did some very impactful stories that helped a lot of people and that exposed a lot of problems and crime and just corruption. So I'll always have that. But being an actor, that became my passion. And then my current wife, Jennifer, sees on Facebook that the local fire department was looking for people, and she thought it was like a citizens police academy, one of those citizens academies where you go and you learn about what the fire service does. Maybe they let you flow a little water on the hose and give you a ride in the fire truck and send you home with a certificate. When I went in, they invited me back, and then I started filling out paperwork for financial information. I said, well, what's this all about? And they said, we'd like to put you through the academy. And so I became a certified firefighter and subsequently an EMT. So I'm a firefighter EMT for the town of Carolina Beach, paid position, and part-time. You can't do it all, but it's probably the most fulfilling thing that I've ever done is the work of a firefighter. And honestly, firefighting is the last thing we do. We do everything from elevator rescues to medical calls, of course. And we're the ones you call when you don't know who to call. The fire department. It's true. And you'll never find a tighter group of a brotherhood than sisterhood than in the fire service. These are the guys you sleep next to, you eat with, you are going into dangerous situations with, and you're spending 24 hours at a time with them. So you're living with these people, and it is the most fulfilling. And everybody. If you don't have a tough skin, the fire service is not for you, because we prank each other, rag on each other. It's constant. And I'm a little older to be starting firefighting when I did. I'm, usually you're 20 starting out and it's a career for you. But you're never too old to be what you might have been. It's never too late to be what you might have been. And I believe that. And, as long as you can do it, physically, it's very physical. As you can imagine, it's very hot at times. It's not good for you. You could go into a building that's 1,000 degrees.
Wow.
Everyone's running out and you're going in. It's like, what's wrong with these people?
Yes. Wow.
You gotta be a little crazy, but you gotta be a little crazy to be an actor too. I really think that. I really think that there's got to be a little something off to be able to do what we do. And think about it though, Thom.
Oh, I agree with you.
Right? And and I'm okay. I've always been a little quirky.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think sometimes it's difficult to hang out with actors. It's
Yeah. And I get a lot of poop from the guys at the firehouse about it because they watch I didn't want to tell anybody what I did. I always figure if you don't recognize me from something, I'm not going to even tell you what I do because then you have to justify it. Well, I was in this. Did you see this? No, right. No. Okay. Well, I was also in this. I don't want to have to justify it. I just come in and say, I used to be a TV reporter and I'm a firefighter now, and that's that's enough for me. But if they say you look familiar and then it gets into a conversation, then, but, no doubt I was on a local commercial and they were watching TV and then sure enough, I, popped up and, I never heard the end of it. And subsequently they, critique my work as an actor.
Yeah. That's interesting. I have a good friend that tell people to just Google him.
I do that. I do that too. I think it's kind of,
what? And he's talking about me, but you know what? You just people talk to you and they find out what you're doing, and they want to know what you've been in. Well,
yeah.
So, or sometimes you can be a little smart aleck. Well, what would I have seen you in? Well, I don't know what you watch.
Exactly. Exactly.
Sometimes I just say, you got your phone, and I write my name down. I say, here, just put that in there. And then they go, oh my God, change the whole conversation.
Well, the funny thing is that we're often a lot different than, the characters we play are a lot different than who we really are in person.
Sure.
And so I've sat watching movies straight through, and then all of a sudden the titles pop up and it says, oh my gosh, that was my good friend, so-and-so.
Yeah.
Right.
That'll happen where a name pops up and it's like, I cannot believe I missed that. I know this guy. I've known him for years. It happens. So
go ahead. Michael read a quote earlier. Michael, can you read
Sure.
David's quote again?
Absolutely. There is nothing more satisfying than doing what you love and coming home to the one you love. It's nice to be important, but more important to be nice.
There's a quote by a guy named David Schifter.
David.
Well, I merged two quotes that I've always believed in. One much longer than the other. It's nice to be important, but more important to be nice. I believe in that. But the original people that I've heard say it were two New York City disc jockeys on the morning show on WABC radio, 77 WABC, when it was music back in the 80s. Ross Britton and Brian Wilson, Ross and Wilson show on WABC. They would say that at the end of the show. One of them would say that it's nice to be important, but more important to be nice. And I always remembered that. I was a kid when I heard that. I was 16, and I've always remembered that. And the other part, we travel a lot. They're filming all over this place, but 90% of the work I do is out of town. It'd be really nice to be able to walk across, or go across town and or in terms of this show that's filming right here a block away, it'd be nice to be able to walk to work, for once in my life. But, it's always good it's nice to go and travel, but it's wonderful to come home to the one you love.
Yeah, it is. Very much so. I agree with you 100%. I did that, man. There were times that I was on a plane about every 2 weeks. And, I remember once I was flying home from Los Angeles, and I was flying on Northwest at the time, and it went through Memphis. I got off the plane in Memphis. They called me when I got off the plane. I got back on the plane and went back to Los Angeles.
Wow.
Wow.
I was always on the road. I'd get home Friday night, 11 o'clock, and Sunday afternoon, I was gone again.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy life, but we love it, right?
Yeah, it's fun to do, and you meet a lot of people, and I can watch. There's not a night that goes by if I'm watching television, and there's something on a series or a movie, and I can I worked with them. That's so and so. I worked with him and so and so and so and so. We did a show called Miracle in the Woods in Wilmington. And it was a great shoot. It was a fun shoot. We shot it actually out in the woods. They actually built a cabin in the woods, a really nice cabin where we shot the interiors and a lot of the exterior stuff. And then when it was over, they gave the cabin to the people who owned that property.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so it was actually a real, it wasn't just like a facade or.
No, it was. They
flat.
Built a nice little cabin and gave it to these people when we left.
Nice.
And it was one of my good friends, Joe Slowinski, who works at Chapman University. It was Joe's first film, and we got to be good friends there. And we had a lot of fun. I want to ask you one more thing.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you one more thing. It's interesting when you talk about your background. When I graduated from college, my first job was as a reporter at a TV station as well. And you're right, man. I covered Jimmy Carter when he was running for president. I covered this incredible fire that they had at the Ziegler's plant. Man, I mean that it was one of those fires that I don't know. You say 1,000 degrees. It was incredible. And so I did. I got to cover a lot. Covered the murder of this young lady, and I was actually there. I listened to the police scanner, and I heard them say they were going to a certain area, so I took off to that area, and the young lady, these guys had killed her. She was laying naked in the woods, and but we found her car first. They had taken her car, and we were at the car, and they were getting ready to. They thought she was in the trunk, and they were going to pry the trunk open. And I had my cameraman, and I was right down on the trunk. And when that trunk popped up, something shot through me, and it was I did not want that girl to be in that trunk because I didn't want to see it.
No,
And,
she wasn't using that on the air anyway. I don't
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
Most
she
stations
wasn't
wouldn't
there.
show
So, but I did that for just like you for quite a few years, and it was fun. It was enjoyable. You don't make a lot of money, so
not in smaller markets. You don't. No.
Yeah.
You know, you gave away. You certainly gave away your age when you said that you covered Jimmy Carter.
That's right. That's
the
right.
earliest president I covered was Clinton.
That was it. Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's
covered
about 20 years after.
Kings and Queens. Charlie. I interviewed Charlie Manson. That was
Did
interesting.
you?
Oh.
I did. I interviewed him. You know, there's so many funny stories. There's so many tragic stories. I remember anytime you went to a fire, and as soon as you rolled out there, and you and your camera operator came out, and you're walking towards the firefighters, they all sort of turn and walk away. And it's kind of funny being on that side, on the other side now, that when the media shows up, you sort of turn and walk away because you're not allowed to talk on behalf of the department, or that's either a public information officer, a PIO, or the chief that would do that. And so we just no, can't talk to you. But it's kind of funny being on the other side now.
Yeah, I imagine so. So you got any final words for us? When do we see Black Balsam?
Well, I would say that within by Thanksgiving, I was told yesterday, sound design will be done. The visual effects will be inserted, and the score will be composed, and the color correction on the film will be done. So from there, it's it goes to the distribution sources and get it out there. Then it's out of my hands, and they release it as they do.
Is a lot of this work being done in Wilmington?
It's all being done on my cell phone, is what it's being done. I kind of do it all. I mean, I'm supervising everything in terms of the supervising the edit and everything going on behind the scenes, and
cool.
But it's out of my hands in terms of the physical. I don't edit or anything like that.
Right.
Right now I'm focused on the distribution end of it, and also getting the next project done. I've got another film that I want to get started on. So it's a very timely one. And I want to work with you on you and I, Thom, have talked about your projects. You've got a slate of wonderful projects, and we need to do them.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Michael, Barbara, you got any final questions, comments?
I wanted to say thank you, David, for joining us today. You've been wonderful.
Oh, I love it. No,
yes,
thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to the premiere of Black Balsam.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Yes, and I too want to say congratulations on your projects and all of the accomplishments that you made. Thanks for coming by. I have to tell my brother about this because he's a big fan of the Haves and Have-Nots with Tyler Perry. So
yes.
I tell him that he needs to tune in and check this episode out. So
there's a bunch of them. I think I'm in about 6 of their episodes.
Yeah, it's in quite a few.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Okay.
So
okay.
did you read in Atlanta? Or did you have to read?
Well, let's see. Did I read? I'm trying to remember. It was 2018 when I started on that show. I think I read in Atlanta the first time, and then subsequently they just hired me based on, I've already done it. So they needed the same guy back. So bring me back in.
Cool. Okay.
Cool.
Sounds good. Okay, man. Well, thank you. Oh, that was absolutely wonderful. Black Balsam, look for it. I think you'll enjoy it. So my closing commentary, or as I see it, Al Franken, the former senator, is making a comeback in comedy clubs. Franklin, who can legitimately be introduced as the only performer we know who was a United States senator, is back in comedy clubs in New York preparing new material as a prelude to a national comedy tour he will embark on. So you may remember, you may not remember, Franken's Senate career ended with his resignation after multiple women accused him of sexual misconduct involving unwanted kissing. You can't kiss people if they don't want you to kiss them. Franken, like most politicians, denied the accusations. Unlike most politicians, though, he did resign after most of his Democratic colleagues did not stick by him. He said he loved being a senator. He mentions highlights in his act, including casting the deciding vote for the Affordable Care Act. At this time, he says he's returning to comedy because it's a part of him. When asked by a heckler in the audience if the comedy tour was a prelude to another run for office, Franken shifted from comic to politician, answering, "I'm keeping my options open." And that's how I see it for this Tuesday, October 5th, 2021. And that's our show for today. I want to thank the audience for being with us. We appreciate you. Thank Michael Barber. Thank our G-List guest, David Schifter. Upcoming G-List guests on Tuesdays with Thom or Marshall Walker next week. And then entrepreneur Larry Thornton, doctoral student Crystal Harrell, and Alabama High School Athletic Association Executive Director Alvin Briggs. I want to thank our sponsor, Best Girl and Mainstream Financial. If you know somebody who you think would make a great guest, please refer them to us, either at Thom at Best Girl or Emily at Best Girl. I want to thank Emily Hedrick, the communicator, our producer. Thanks Sean Jones, the organizer. I'm going to thank Vernell Razor for the referrals. We appreciate it. We'll be in contact with the lady. Remember to enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Peace.